important step for the implementation of the program. We are having today the info day for the big tickets call. That is one of the most important step in the implementation of the program. We have done a lot of effort jointly with you in order to improve the number of proposals, improve the quality of the proposal in order to be able to use the budget that all the year we have. We are still not there, but I think that we are improving. This morning, we are going to have a lot of presentation from my staff, boring presentation, but with a lot of information about the way of making a better proposal and for explaining the points that they are sometimes tricky in submitting a proposal. And then after the lunch for the companies and university that they have requested to have a one-to-one session, we are going to give them the opportunity to further explore potential proposal for the future and clarifying any other aspect that remain unclear after this morning. We are going to have a presentation really on a lot of things, how the project should be made in order to be admissible, which are the financial operational capacity that should be mentioned in order to be well evaluated. We are explaining you the evaluation procedure that you also are getting familiar with this, that is very important. And then a lot of other information about any other aspect of submitting a proposal. But there is some novelty this year for the big ticket, because you know that the European Commission is quite active in the last time. And especially in 2025, the European Commission has adopted two directives that they are particularly important, and they are in some way impacting the work of the research fund for coal and steel, because the European Commission has in February adopted the Clean Industrial Deal, that is a policy initiative in order to target energy-intensive industry. Steel is definitely an energy-intensive industry, and to go in the direction of gaining or maintaining the competitiveness of our industry in Europe. But the European Commission went even further, because in March 2025, they have adopted the Steel and Metal Action Plan. And again, this is really targeting the steel and all the other industries that they are strategic for the European sovereignty. So this is very important. And according to this, we have slightly modified the approach of the big ticket, because we have linked the objectives of our big ticket for steel, of course, to these two major policy initiatives. And you see that the way we have split the budget is that we are going to have, in some way, two big ticket calls for steel, one that is linked to the SID, and one that is linked to the Steel and Metal Action Plan. For the first one, we have indicatively make 50 million as overall budget, and for the other one, 25. Nothing changed for coal. We remain with 35 million. And you see that the sum of these is a little bit lower than what we were having last year in this period, because there is 25 million that they are not here now, but they will be open for a specific dedicated big ticket call for dual use that it will be aligned with the annual call. So you know also that we are going to be the first one. We are not in Horizon Europe, but we are close to Horizon Europe. We are going to be the first one research program that is allowing to receive dual use proposal. This is a change that is going probably to happen for the next framework program, FP10. And we are testing the water in some way, and we'll see if we are going to be able to adapt our process and procedure to comply with the requirement of a dual use. Dual use means sensitiveness of the information, clearance of the expert, a lot of other aspects that are unknown for the research family till now. And we are testing these, and we will export our effort in order to improve the way the FP10 will be designed for the future. So this is why the budget is lower, but it's not that we have cut the budget for Big Ticket, but we have just postponed a part of these to the summer break. So I would like to conclude my intervention, but I will be here, so don't worry. And I will be a pain in the neck to my staff, checking what they are doing. So, but I would like to announce two things that just happened. Means we have just published the summary of the coal portfolio analysis that was done in 2024. And we have published yesterday, so this is brand new. If you use this link, you will get it. And by coincidence, I don't know why, but if you see in the first page of the report, there is a nice picture of a museum in Germany. It's the German Mining Museum in Bochum. And we are going to have our coal event there. So you are, as of now, invited to participate to this coal dissemination event that the REA will do. We are going to have it on Tuesday, 29th of September, and with an early networking event on the 28th. So as of today, I would like to invite you to book your agenda, to book your trip, planes, train, whatever, and to come to Bochum for the end of September in order to celebrate with us the way the Research Fund for Coal and Steel related to coal is implemented, and to share experience, to see where we are going, how we are really helping the coal region to go away from this business mode, to reskill the workers, to clean up the sites and everything. This is extremely important. So I'm really looking forward to meet you in Bochum. So this is all from me. I will give now the floor to my head of sector, Spyridon Merkourakis, and we are starting with the serious stuff. Thank you.
Good morning also from my side. I will give some information on project budget and duration, and then later on objectives and specific conditions and expected impact from our projects. So first, about duration, it should be between 36 and 54 months on average. Then in relation to the budget, from our previous experience, we have put here some indicative budget figures. First, for coal, we would like to receive proposals between 5 and 9 million euros. And then for steel, a bit larger, so between 5 and 25. However, as mentioned, these are indications. And if you look at the bottom of your screens, you can see that other budgets are also allowed. So it's not forbidden for a proposal to request higher budget. But we are giving as said, the indications on what we think would be the most appropriate. Then these are extracts from our legal basis on what is a pilot project and what is a demonstration project. So the text is fairly complex. So I invite you to read it if you want, but basically what it says that the pilot takes results from laboratory to a higher TRL. So from around 4 to 5 to 5, 6. And then the demonstration takes these results and tries to bring them to closer to the market. However, remember in RFCS, we can go up to TRL 8, so not higher. We cannot fund proposals who wish to go higher than TRL 8. Now, some more information about the objectives. First for call, so you can see again, these are the articles from our legal basis. So from left to right, the first is about repurposing of coal or lignite mines that are either closed or in the process of closing down. The second is about waste reuse and also development of alternative materials. Then stabilization of land, monitoring, restoration. Methane emissions, very important, having in mind the quite recent methane regulation that deals with this. And finally, water and water tables in coal mines. Then the same about steel, as Sebastiano mentioned, there is a difference this year. So on the one hand, we have the Clean Industrial Deal, the CID. Then it's about recycling and circularity. And then the SMAP, and this refers again to the articles of their legal basis, so there's no big change there. And the objective is, on the one hand, to find new sustainable and low carbon steel making and finishing processes. And then the other objective relates to advanced steel and applications. Now, the activities that can be funded, I will start with coal and then go further with steel. Some of the items are the same for both, and some are different. So there will be some repetition in some of the items that we'll present. So first, obviously, we fund only pilot or demonstration projects. And as I mentioned earlier, the activities can go up to TRL 8. So there's no condition for a starting TRL, but there is a strict condition that you can go up to TRL 8. The projects must be in line with the goals of the just transition, and also specific for coal to demonstrate social and economic revitalization of the former mining regions. And also quite important, it would be good to see in the proposals activities that help upskill or reskill workers along with improved working conditions. Now, same exercise for steel. So the first is the same. For TRL is the same. For the SMAP part, where there are two objectives, the proposals should relate to at least one, obviously. And more specific for steel, the fourth box on your screens, the proposals must be consistent with the objectives of the Clean Steel Partnership. And then finally, it's about improvements. So it would be good to show that if something exists already, that the proposal can do it even better. And then to demonstrate this, to indicate appropriate references. So for example, the emission traded scheme or other instruments to quantify like energy and material balances, etc., including emissions. Then about the expected outcomes and impact for coal first, I remind you outcomes. When we say this in our jargon, we are thinking about short and medium term, whereas impact is more longer term, and it's the ultimate effect or benefit that an activity can have to the environment, etc. So about the outcomes, so the idea is to quantify the emission reduction or other positive effects. If relevant, so this is not an obligation, but it will be, if relevant, yes, to demonstrate health and safety effects. Very important to have, because the aim is to go close to the market, to outline a scalability plan and a viable business case for marketability. And finally, disseminate results widely. And as mentioned also earlier, contribute to development on skills and creation of jobs. And so final impacts, one relates to the European Green Deal, so to progress towards the goals, and the other one relates to the goals of the Just Transition Mechanism. Now, same exercise for steel, for CID and SMAT. So the first one, it relates to technical and economic feasibility of novel technologies and processes. The second is about quantification of CO2 emissions or other positive environmental effects. Similar with coal, to demonstrate if relevant positive health and safety effects. The same about scalability and, very important as mentioned, a viable business case and dissemination of results. In relation to final impacts, again, we have here the European Green Deal, but also overall other Commission policy guidelines applicable to the industry. And then the Clean Industrial Deal and the relevant areas of the Steel and Metals Action Plan. And finally, to support competitiveness and innovation in the steel sector. Then I pass on to Dermot for the continuation.
Thank you. So now I will start into there's 5 or 6 sections, very important to everyone who is applying. So I will look and go through the admissibility section, the eligibility section, financial capacity area, and then I'll explain the evaluation procedure, what happens after you submit your proposal. And then we'll dig a bit more into the part A of the application, so the administrative part, and we'll break for coffee. So to get things started, the admissibility. So there's 4 main sections that you need to take care of. One, of course, is the submission of your proposal. You'll start your applications at the moment. And the next area is the completeness of your application, of course, the quality, and then there's some very key parts that I'll stress for you to adhere to. So submission, of course, you'll need to submit by the deadline, the 6th of May, and it will be electronically submitted. The coordinator will have the mandate to submit on the partner's behalf. Then the completeness. So there's 3 main areas. Part A, that's the administrative part that you will fill online in the template. We'll go through it later in the slides. The part B, which is the technical description. This is a template that you will complete and upload in the system. And then the annexes and supporting documents. The annexes are the detailed budget table. So it is an Excel form that you will complete, each partner will complete. And then the list of previous projects in the area of the topic. So key projects in the last 4 years. So that table is within the part B, and you can complete it and leave it in part B or add it as an annex. All other annexes will not be evaluated in the proposal. So if you upload CVs, letters of recommendation, whatever, great, but they're not part of the evaluation. The experts will not look at it. So these are the key areas: part A, part B, the detailed budget table, and the list of key projects. We move on to quality. So at the admissibility, once you submit, we will check that your application is readable, accessible, that we can open it, that it's printable, and it's limited to 70 pages. So this is another thing. Once you upload your part B, it is a maximum of 70 pages. Anything other than that, it's blanked out. It's made invisible. We don't see it. So please ensure all the detail is within the template of 70 pages. And then 3 key points. Please do not delete any of the instructions in Part B. So the template is made to 70 pages. It's increased in order you have enough room to describe your proposal, and there should be no instructions deleted at any point. Also, do not change the font size or the margins of the template. So you just complete the template as you see it. These are the key areas to make sure that your proposal is admissible. So you do all the work. These are the first checks we do on the evaluation. So it's important that your proposal is admissible. So we move to eligibility to make sure your proposal is eligible. So who are the eligible participants? They are legal entities and natural persons established in the EU member states, including overseas countries and territories. Legal entities from third countries are allowed to participate when in the EU interest. To be eligible for funding, only legal entities and natural persons from EU member states. So the consortium composition, it must be a minimum of 2 independent applicants, and it must be from 2 different eligible countries. Once you meet this, your application is deemed eligible. Other eligibility conditions, proposal activities must take place in eligible countries, and the project must comply with EU policy interests and priorities. So now financial and operational capacity. So each beneficiary must have a stable and sufficient resources to implement the project, but the financial capacity check will be done by REA Horizontal Services at the grant agreement preparation stage. It's not done once you submit your application, it's done later. Operational capacity. Applicants must have the know-how, qualifications, and resources to implement the project, and the operational capacity is assessed by the experts within the evaluation criteria, quality and efficiency of implementation. In particular, competence and experience of the applicants is assessed, and project teams, including their operational resources. So that covers the key points: admissibility, eligibility, and operational capacity. And now I will just briefly go through the evaluation procedure itself once your proposal is submitted. So we've conducted the 3 points on the call deadline, which is the 7th or the 6th of May. This week on the 17th, on Tuesday, the call opened for application. It was published on the 3rd of February, so everyone had time to go through the documents, but now you can begin to begin your application. Immediately after the call deadline, we'll begin the evaluation procedures. So this will continue from May into July, and then you will receive the results of the evaluation outcome in September, so early September. And the indicative date for signing the grants agreements will be in January to February of next year. So the evaluation process. So we have 5 key phases. So one of them is the individual evaluation. So each proposal will be assessed by 5 experts. They will all receive your proposal, and they will individually evaluate your proposal according to the evaluation criteria. After this stage, all the experts then come here to Brussels and will conduct the consensus group phase. So all individual experts come together in a meeting, and they will discuss the proposal, and they will agree commonly to a common position on your proposal on each evaluation criteria, and then agree on the comments and the scores. After this, we have a hearing step, and I'll talk a little bit more on this in the next stage, but the hearing step, we invite all applicants to participate to the hearings. And that hearing step will support the evaluation committee in their decision. I'll go a little bit more of what contains the hearing step for you in the next slide. After the hearing step, we have the panel review. So the panel review is when all the experts come together from reading all the proposals, and they will reach an agreement on the scores and the comments of all proposals within the call, checking the consistency across the evaluation and taking into consideration the results of the hearings. And if necessary, to resolve cases where evaluators were unable to agree. And then there will be a rank of all the proposals with the same score. So we'll have the finalized ranking list then that will be proposed for funding. So the hearings, why do we have the hearings? So the hearings will give applicants an opportunity to clarify any concerns that expert evaluators may have once they went through your proposal and they've had the discussion, the consensus group meeting. So how will this be done? All applicants will be invited to participate to the hearing. So although it's not compulsory, during the Central Week, you will be invited to come to Brussels. So a little bit about the hearings itself. So the duration will be, for each hearing, will be 30 minutes max. Each proposal should be represented by the coordinator and a maximum of one other key representative. So a representative that may know the technical areas of the proposal and should be from one of the entities composed within the consortium. And that these people are allowed and able to speak on behalf of the whole consortium and respond to the experts' questions. Explanations and clarifications will be limited to the questions that are asked in the hearing. So no presentations will be allowed or additional information. So you essentially, each proposal applicant will be invited to come and you'll receive questions from the experts in the room, and you'll have the ability to make any clarifications that is necessary. So we move on to the scoring process. So the scoring is in 3 different criteria, in excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of implementation. So the scoring range in each criteria is from 0 to 5, but the passing threshold is 3. So in each criteria, the proposal needs to pass. In order to pass, it has to be 3 or above. So in excellence, impact, and quality, but the overall score has to be above 10. So the overall score is between 0 and 15, but the thresholds to pass has to be 10 in order that proposals are considered for funding. So you must pass the individual threshold and the overall threshold. So what is the scoring from 0 to 5? So 0 is when a proposal fails to address the criterion that is in the evaluation criteria and cannot be assessed due to missing or incomplete information. If it gets a 1, it's considered poor, so the criterion is inadequately addressed, or there is a serious inherent weakness. If it gets 3, it's considered good, so the proposal addresses the criterion well, but there's a number of shortcomings. Very good, the proposal addresses the criterion very well, but there's a small number of shortcomings. And then excellent proposals is what we want. And of course, for excellent, the score is 5, and this is when the proposal addresses all the relevant aspects of their criterion, and there may be a few minor shortcomings present. So this is the range of scores that each expert will be adjudicating when they're reading your proposal. So I move to AI. Of course, we're in the age of AI. Everyone is starting to use it, and you preparing your application may use it. So we just give some words of caution. So please be very cautious using AI in your application. What we stress is the confidentiality aspect of it. So the use of AI tools does not guarantee confidentiality, as you know. So it's you as coordinators or you as members of a consortium and members of your organization. So you must be very careful in protecting the sensitive information, because this information goes out to the world. So the information may be used by third parties. So by inserting your information into AI and using it to prepare your application, you need to be very, very careful. Of course, you check everything. It's not prohibited to use it, but we ask you, it's better to do it yourself and to be very cautious when you're using AI. So that's the overview of the evaluation process. I'll move into preparing the proposal of Part A, the administrative part. And at the end of this section, we will pause then for some questions. I know you're putting questions in the chat. Great. We'll go through each one of these right after this section when we take a pause. So preparing a proposal. Like any exam, you need to get ready. So everything is available for you in the funding and tenders portal. So please check all the documents. If you scroll down to the end of the page, you will find the legal basis. You will find the application templates itself, the standard application form, the model grant agreement, the manual for submission, the call document, of course. So everything is there. Please check all your documents before you start so you're familiar with the requirements. Prepare your consortium. Of course, your participants need to be eligible. You need to think about your composition. Later on, we'll describe if you're looking for a partner, how and where you might find a partner. So there's availability in the funding and tenders portal for this search, and we'll cover it later in the day. The financial capacity of the partners, the operational capacity, as well as the exclusions. And you need to plan, of course, your Part B. This is the technical written description, which takes a lot of work. So you need to start as soon as possible. And within this, we'll go through it. It'll contain the objectives, the work packages, the milestones and deliverables and timeline. And then you have the annex, one of the annexes, which is the Excel form, which is the detailed budget table. And there's a budget table in Part A, which I'll show, and then the list of previous projects. So there's a lot of work involved and you need to get prepared. So we'll go through each one of these areas now in before coffee and after it as well. So the funding and tenders portal. When you go to the funding and tenders portal and you search for RFCS 2026, there's 3 topics now open for submission. The topic on big tickets coal, and then the 2 topics under steel. So big tickets under the Steel and Metals Action Plan and the big tickets under the Clean Industrial Deal. Once you click into one of the topics, in this example, the Steel and Metals Action Plan, you'll start your application. And this is the first landing page that you will come to. So I'm just going to put a pointer on. So the coordinator will insert their pick, so their information of that they'll be the coordinator. And just I want to highlight some areas of the page that are important. You will have the call deadline here on the left-hand side with the time. So it needs to be submitted by the 6th of May. The call data is very important. I'll move to it in the next slide. And here in your application, you will have the templates. So if you click on this, you're able to download your templates that you will upload in the next page. So this is your Part B and the detailed budget table. And then at any point of your application, if you have difficulties or you have questions, you have the online manual here and you have links then to submit a question. To add partners, there is the Add Partner button here. If you have an associate partner in your consortium, you will add them here. And if you have an affiliated entity, you will add them here. Once you have added your partners, pay attention as well. Here's the warning. So the call requires at least 2 applicants from different EU member states and associate countries. So once you add all your partners, you will come to the next page. So by hitting next, or no, sorry, before I reach that, as I mentioned, I want to just highlight this. So beside under call data, it will show the topic. So here the topic is Big Ticket Steel and Metals Action Plan. If you're intending to submit under the Clean Industrial Deal, this here will show CID, Clean Industrial Deal. So make sure you are starting your application under the right topic, because look at the warning. The topic and type of action can only be changed by creating a new proposal. So if you're in Steel and Metals Action Plan and you think you are applying under the Clean Industrial Deal, you might do all the work, but then if you make a mistake and you notice later, you'll have to start again. So when you start your application, please have a look that you're in the right topic. Otherwise, going to start the application under the other topic. So the next page, then you will come to the second page, which starts into all the administrative part of the application. So part A. Here is the button edit forms where you'll fill in all the administrative parts. I'll show this in the next slides. And underneath is the part B. So here you will upload your part B, which we'll cover later in the day. The detailed budget table you'll upload, as well as the list of previous projects will be uploaded here. So by going into the administrative part, part A. So the first landing page is an important page, of course. So here you will put in your proposal acronym, your proposal title, and what's very important is you will see that there's 2 drop-down options. Step 1 is the panel. So for the Steel and Metals Action Plan, you will select the SMAP, Steel and Metals Action Plan. If you're in CID, the Clean Industrial Deal, you will select CID. After you select your topic, there's a second drop-down here under descriptors, and this is your objectives. So under the Steel and Metals Action Plan, as Spiridon presented earlier, there's 2 objectives, Article 8 or Article 9. So you select the article that is associated to your proposal. You can add a second one if you want by pressing add. If you're applying under the coal topic, there on the descriptor, you will be selecting one of the 5 objectives that Spiridon explained as well. And you can add a maximum of 2 topics, 2 objectives. So after you select the panel and descriptor, there's 2 other very key areas, the free keywords. So please select appropriate keywords. These keywords are one of the aspects that we use when we're selecting an expert to assess your proposal. So do not just put in coal and clean air. They tell us nothing. So please select your free keywords. As I said, we don't rely on them solely, but we use them as one of the aspects. The second aspect we use when we're selecting your expert is your abstract. So of course, it tells the experts when they get your application an overview of what your abstract is about, but we use it as well for expert selection. So a few key areas to keep in mind when you're writing your abstract for this proposal. As we all know what an abstract should contain, so it's an overview of the main points of your proposal. But what I draw your attention to is on why it is so important, as I mentioned, that it helps the experts understand the text at the very start by reading, instead of reading all of the 70 pages, they get a context straight away, and that we use it for the selection of experts. So I highlight here 5 areas that I ask you to take into account when you're writing the abstract. Do not make it very general. So the 5 key areas. So at the opening, give a background. So a simple opening sentence or two, placing the work in context. Then after these 2 or 3 sentences, address the aims. So address the aim of your proposal and the work purpose that you're going to do. Then the methods. So explain the challenge and the technological solution that you are proposing in your application. After you describe the challenge and technical solution, move then to 2 or 3 sentences on the results. So indicate what you hope to accomplish in the project. And then finish off with the impact. So this is in the sector or the most relevant, the impact in your sector or most relevant policies of the topic, whether it's related to the European Green Deal, the Just Transition, the Clean Industrial Deal, or the Steel and Metals Action Plan and so forth. So please, when you're writing your abstract, look at these 5 areas and it'll ensure that you have a very concise, clear abstract that will no doubt help your proposal or your application. And then, of course, take a third-person view of it. Ask yourself the questions: why are you undertaking the project? What will you do? How? And what do you expect to find? So you saw where you put in the 3 keywords, where you put in the abstract. Once you scroll down under that, there is this question: has your proposal been submitted in the last 2 years? So if yes, please insert. It'll require you to put in your proposal number, or if it's a brand new proposal or outside the 2 years, you can select no. Following this, you have 5 declarations to accept. These are all mandatory. If you miss one, it'll come up as an alert when you're submitting your application. So please read them, and they are mandatory in order that your application is possible to submit. So then we move to filling out the information from each partner in the proposal. So you will have your organization name, but then you need to fill out the department of the person, the main contact person of the organization that is represented. So the department name and the address. Then the title of the main contact, the position in the organization, and the department. And you will do that for each of the partners in the proposal. Then at the end of, after adding all the partners, there is the budget table. So there is 2 budget tables in your application. The part A, that's the administrative part, and later is the detailed budget table, so more detailed than this, that you will upload as an Excel. So the information in this part A is very critical. So whatever information you put in here is the information that if there's discrepancy, this is the budget table that we will use for a valid budget. So on the left-hand side, you can't really see it here, but once you download the application form, you'll see it. So you'll be entering in the personal costs, subcontracting costs if there are, purchase costs, indirect costs, and then you will have your total amount. What I'd like to highlight is the right-hand side of the budget table as well. Sometimes applicants only pay attention to what's on the left-hand side, and the left and the right-hand side they ignore. What's important here is you must include if the proposal will generate income from the project, or there's in-kind contributions or financial contributions, but also your own resources. So in this example, the estimated project cost is €43.50. The funding rate is 50%. So the maximum EU contribution is €21.75. So you're getting 50% of a grant, but you need to come with your own resources. So please complete this side of the table with your own resources or any incomes that are generated from the proposal. And then your total estimated project income will be the 100% value. So don't forget this part of the budget table. Complete all the sections. So now we're at the end of submitting part A, the administrative part of your proposal. And there is a button to check whether your application is valid. Once you press it, it will show up. Hopefully everything is fine. If it shows up something like this, it means that you haven't fully completed all the sections. So those in red is a blocking issue. There you need to go back to your application and complete the required area. The ones that are in amber will not block, but will still show a warning. I'll give you an example. If you upload a part B that has 80 pages, it's a warning to you to say that, okay, your application can be submitted, but everything over 70 pages will be blocked out. So this is an amber warning. It's not a blocking issue. So please pay attention to this page when you get to it, that you clear all of these alerts. So that's part A. We can stop here and take some questions that you may have.
So there is a...
Give one to that. Yeah.
So there is any question from the people that they are here in the room? Yes.
En fait, excuse me, I have a question regarding the coordination. Coordination can be done, for example, by an RTO research center or university, or it's preferable that the industry.
We do not have any preference, means you should choose the best coordinator according to the proposal. Of course, industrial participation is important because this is an industrial program. But if RTO or an academia want to be coordinator and they have the good skills for doing it, they should do it. It means that this is not a problem. It's not compulsory to have an industry leader as a coordinator. Okay. Do we have any other question from people in presence? Doesn't seem the case. Do my staff has highlighted some of the questions from the chat, please?
There are 3 questions related to the funding rate. The first one is for universities. The funding rate of 50% is most critical as they do not have additional sources for funding the missing 50%. Are there any activities to increase the funding rate for universities and also for startups? This is a critical point.
Okay, according to the current legal basis, there is no way of raising the funding rate. We are working for a new legal basis where the funding rate will be higher. But for the moment, no. What we always advise consortia to do is that maybe they can redistribute the budget between them in the consortium agreement. This is something that we are going to say later on, but if, for example, if a big industry wanna lower the co-financing that we receive and increase the co-financing in our academia, RTO or SME, they can do it, but they should do it in the consortium agreement. It's going to be an agreement within them, and it's possible. This is also something that we have offered to the stakeholders when we took the management of the fund. But in the submission, we should respect the 50%. So the 50% for each of the participants. This is going to be recorded in the grant. But as I said, when there is also a compulsory another document is the consortium agreement. And if in the consortium agreement, the Fumero Limited wanna have only 30% and wanna increase the funding of the University of Udine, for example, that is here, or Marche at 80%, why not? This is something that is possible, okay? I think that is clear. We always keep saying this, but it's important, okay?
So with this, you have clarified that the 50% co-funding requirement is mandatory, because this is the third question, and there is no flexibility in the application. So the next question is, what are the expectations regarding the quantification of emissions reduction? Should calculations be as precise as those requested for an innovation fund application?
I will ask my program manager that is very keen in replying to this question because we have there is a variety of sorry.
No, because we don't have like innovation fund and specific requirements. Okay, this is the most important to understand. So in that sense, we are more flexible, but they need to provide the information in the way that is justified and the experts are satisfied with the information. But we don't request like innovation fund and a specific, let's say, table and details and so on. Okay, but it's more to justify to the expert than to us. Tell me, Alexia. It's okay?
Okay, what I was saying, there is a variety of data. This is true in reality because we have the Christie partnership with their data. We have the European Commission has a different data request, etc. But we will try to manage it properly during the evaluation. Something more? Yes.
So the next question regards the pages of Part B compared to Horizon Europe, 45, 50 pages Part B. Is there a specific reason why RFCS Part B is limited to 70 pages?
So indeed, yes, some programs do have less pages. But for us, we sometimes get requests to have more than 70 pages. So we are aligned to Horizon Europe in most of the aspects, and there is many programs with 70 pages. So our limit is 70 pages. In fact, that's why I was stressing do not delete instructions, because people are wanting more. And it's important that the instructions are left because it's equal treatment to all. It's one of the admissibility criteria. So 70 pages is standard for RFCS for a number of years.
Again, if someone want to present a Part B with 30 pages, they can. No one is. We have been aligned with the general instruction that they were done at the beginning of Horizon Europe. And we stick to it because we don't see need to reduce, but certainly we cannot increase. This is the reason why we have 70 pages.
The next question regards the funding. Is the funding based on lump sum or actual costs?
No, we are not using lump sum in Research Fund for Connectivity for the time being.
And the last one, as regards the hearings, will the participants be informed of the need clarifications in advance?
No, this is too demanding, means because we are harvesting question of the expert during the consensus meeting phase. And this will happen just before the hearings, because normally we have a consensus meeting on the first 2 days of the evaluation in Brussels, and we convene the meetings on the third day. It will be too difficult to transmit the information to the participant to the hearings, that they will probably traveling the day before, etc. So, but this is something that has been highly appreciated by the proposer, because they can come and they can clarify a lot of questions from the expert. And also us, we are really liking having hearings, because they provide a better understanding of the proposal. Sometimes it's also difficult to explain things in the written part, but if you can then clarify, it's a positive and is added value to the evaluation.
So regarding the scores, if multiple proposals receive the same score, how is the final selection made?
But we have some rules that they are related to the separation between a project that they have the same scoring. If we are looking at the impact criterion, and then to the excellence criterion, and to the quality of the implementation. So it means if two proposals got 14 and one of them got 4.5 in impact and the other get 4 in the impact, we will go for the one that got 4.5. And this is the way. If not, we will ask to the panel to decide which one of the two is the best one. See. Yeah, but we already said. Okay, we already said that was. Don't look at him, look at me, because.
For indirect costs, which is the percentage of indirect costs covered by EU contribution? Is it dependent on type of entity, or do we have a flat rate for all? For example, 25% as in Horizon Europe for indirect costs.
We are covering this in the next part.
And okay, so the next questions can also be replied afterwards. Shall we keep them?
If they are related to the second part, it's better to keep it for the second part, just in order to make doesn't make any confusion. Okay. So do we have any other question related to the first part? Doesn't seem the case. So since it's already 11:15, I will say that we take a coffee break, and then we will start again at 11:15. So also people at home, they can in the office, they can relax a little bit. So I will looking forward to have you back at 11:15. Thank you very much. should be green. Should be red. Okay, welcome back from the coffee break. Here, everybody's back. I hope that also you are reconnected from home, from your office, etc. I think that we still have a few questions from from you to reply to, and so let's start this before going to the part B, clarification and explanation.
For steelmakers with operations in other countries, is it possible to consider trials or contributions from non-EU countries?
I will ask my program manager, because he's always very critical with me, to reply directly.
RFCS run all the activities in EU countries, okay? And then in the interest of the European Union and well justified, we may accept these activities outside of the European Union. But the fundamental is always European Union.
Probably I have to say it differently, means because the idea is to promote activities in Europe. But if a proposal, a project need to have something that it cannot do in Europe and is indicating us why it want to do in another country that is not the one of that they are in the legal base, they can do it. It should be just justified. We are not be strict and say, no, you cannot do this in Japan, you cannot do this in the States, if it's justified. This is just in order to clarify further Oscar assumption.
The next one regards the hearings. If I understand correctly, the evaluation summary report will therefore be communicated only after the hearings.
The evaluation summary report is not linked to the hearings. Hearings is a part of our evaluation. When we close the evaluation with the panel review, we have the final evaluation summary report that it will be communicated to the proposers after that has been approved by DG Research and presented to the program committee. So when we have the clearance from them, from these two services, we will send out the evaluation summary report. But it's not something that is linked to the hearings. Hearings is one part of the evaluation process, but the evaluation summary report is what a proposal gets when the evaluation is completed. And for completing the evaluation, we need also to have the final green light from the program committee that represent the member states.
In the last point, regarding the point of supplementing the funding shortfall for participants within the consortium agreement, must this be documented within the budget breakdowns under the right-hand columns for Part A form? For example, income generated, in-kind contributions, financial contributions.
No, the financial part of the proposal should respect the indication of the legal basis. So everything should be written according to the 50% reimbursement or co-funding of the European Commission. As I said, in the consortium agreement, you can modify it according to different aspects that you can take into consideration, but this should not impacting the way you are preparing the proposal, because also the tool will not allow you to do it. So in any case, you cannot do this. Is everything? Okay, so now I will give the floor to my program manager, Oscar Perez Punzano de la Mancha del Caribe, for the part B presentation.
Thank you, Sebastian. Okay, now we start with this part B is the preparation of the application. I want to stress that we have, it's not the same that the previous big tickets call. So my first warning is, please work on the application if it's a resubmission, because there are little changes that you have to take into consideration. So whatever has been presented before, like objectives, expected impact, there are differences. So you have to take into account slight differences. Apparently, you don't think that there are differences, but when the experts start to read it, they apply strictly the previous explanation on objectives, activities, expected impact, and then they don't see this in your proposal because it's a resubmission, and you didn't take into consideration to stress the point related to the specificities of these calls. So what I want to stress here is the first point. So smart objectives, just to be clear, and this is always the same, art has to be smart, the sense that specific, measurable, etc. Everybody knows how to do it, and has to be very clear for the expert. The major part of the expert, when they discuss, is one of the points that they spend more time discussing. So write a very clear objectives that they can understand if they are in the excellent, if they are more technical, they are in the impact, etc. Everything should be very clear for them, because this point determine a lot the future result of the application, okay, of your application. So please be attentive to this point. Then the other point that is here, which are not the objective itself, that the smart objectives, because smart objective is more related to the implementation of the proposal. Now we are talking about the objectives, if they are in line with the objectives that we presented before, Spiridon presented before, okay? So this is why I'm telling, go back to these objectives, check carefully, and I will put it here in this is why I put it these slides, just to go through with you. So if they say recycling technologies, just check that you are here, okay? Just pay attention to this, and it has to be very clear for the expert. You are applying with this technology to solve this challenge, and is linked to these specific objectives of the topic. Okay, so Dermot before expressed that you have to be careful when you select the topic. So I think it's very clear, recycling technologies, you go here and you check if your technology is fitting here or not, okay? It's not wasting your time, it's just adapting your potential resubmission, if there is a resubmission or application, to the right objectives, okay? Specific objectives. Back. So here, this is why I'm telling here, very important. Verify that the Part B objectives match with the descriptor that Spiridon mentioned before in the slides and the objective of the party. This is my first warning, because sometimes you write a nice proposal, but then for the expert, it's not clear. And then you get worse score, not because it's not a good proposal, it's because it's not in line with the expert are analyzing, okay? I repeat that this is your job in the first part of your application is to check this. Don't consider it a wasting of time. We know that sometimes the proposal, they have objectives in several fields. For example, if you are in recycling of slags, then you are applying this to the furnace. So you are like in both parts, no? You are working in both sense, but your proposal has to decide, we apply reduction of CO2 here in the furnace, or we focus on the slags, okay? Yes, this is your decision, and has to be, it's very important decision, because determine the way that the expert will assess your proposal, okay? Also, it's very important, because when we select the experts, we select in function of your abstract that has to be very well written, okay, your keywords that you select, open keywords, and then the expert goes there and check if it is really fitting what you set in your objectives and what is written afterwards in the excellence section and the impact. So please align very well all these elements in order that it's very easy to read, okay? Now we move to more specific aspects, like the state of the art, okay? The expert will check the state of the art. And so it's another point that the expert, some of the experts are very critical. And here depends on the type of expert. Industrial experts are more flexible. University experts are more exigent. And we know why. So they are more accustomed to check all the references and things like that. So be accurate, precise, and methodic in this. You don't need to write a long, extensive list of references, but has to be the most relevant. Okay, just to tell you that there are two aspects. You need to take into consideration these two profiles. Okay, the industrial, they are more focused on reference to previous projects, previous technologies, previous things that they know very well that they are applied in certain industries. Of course, they take into account the, let's say, academic references, publication, but the other are very keen on having a very long and detailed list of references. Okay, and this is another point of discussion between the expert and the application when they are checking the application. So I'm giving you the hints of the discussion in order that you understand how to prepare well your application. Now we move to the aspect of innovation. So if you read the call document, it's clearly stated that you have to provide an innovation. Of course, we are in an industrial level. Innovation, which is breakthrough, is not breakthrough, is the major part of the proposal are incremental, but show up really well the innovation aspects, and has to be in line with these references that you have provided. So a lot of discussions are going on here between the three experts, the 5 experts in our case for big tickets. But this is one point that they spend also a lot of time. Okay, so please waste your time here, spend time here working on this aspect that has to be very clear. TRL, please, TRL has to be very clear. Activities, TRL, okay? Because sometimes the expert discussion, I don't see the TRL. There are a lot of blah, blah, blah. And they say it's not clear for them what are you really reaching, or from where you start and from where you go, what is in the middle, etc. So please be structured in your application. Remember that you work for two types of experts and they are having different views. Now we move to the point that we are checking the methods, the different scientific aspect of the proposal and the feasibility. So we are in an industrial program. Please, when you provide and check it in the specific activities that you have to provide, is written that you have to present mass balance, energy balance, so data. Okay? Without data, they will penalize your proposal. Blah, 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 no. Data. Whatever you present should be supported by a specific data that guarantee that the experts are satisfied in the terms of understanding what is going on. Has not to be invented. Okay? Just to tell you that this is another point that the expert discuss a lot. So you need to demonstrate clearly your scientific and technical feasibility, what you are doing. Okay? In this case, we always work with the problem. It has to be very clear the challenge that you are facing. This is connected afterwards. You provide with something that is solving the problem, and this should be in line with the objectives of the call. So everything is aligned. Whatever you decide is like a chain that everything is linked and should be very clear. My opinion, you don't need 70 pages to demonstrate this. You need less. Okay, but I understand that some people like to write more or to put picture or whatever. So once you have clear this connection, you have to demonstrate the research methodology here. And I always insist on this because sometimes the engineers, we go to the implementation and the methodology of implementation, methodology of research. They are different. This is why we have an excellence section and we have an implementation section. Okay? Here, what the experts usually want to see and we want to see is a clear path to understand what will be in the implementation section. So you understand that you are doing this series of tests and research activities, that they are linked to a specific task and work packages in the implementation, but don't mix. Okay, there is a tendency in some projects. They are better and better now, the project. I can tell you that the proposals are much better than in 2021, 2022. But still we see the confusion to justify the research activity with the work package or task inside of our package. Okay, so please, methodology of research. This is more clear for in the universities and thesis and whatever, but I insist because this is an industrial program. The major part of engineers that they are working, they are focused on the implementation and they forget that they has to present something to other profile of experts. Okay, so, and at the end you get a result that demonstrates that your technology will be feasible with the result. Here I put it this always, but it's very easy. Here is pilot and demonstration. So tier 7, 8 is the objective. We don't care where you start, but be careful because you have to be consistent. We don't put the start, but we all know that if you start lower TRL, you have more steps to arrive to the higher TRL. And that means a lot of description that if it is missed will mean a shortcoming. So be careful how you start and where you start. But in the beginning we have it start TRL, end TRL. Now we took it out, but it's not, I don't think it's a help for you because some people forget that is lower TRL means more steps to arrive to the 7, 8. And sometimes it's not well demonstrated. And remember, the expert will assess the whole path. And if they see shortcomings, they will penalize your proposal. So be careful with this. It's not that you have to include everything because in this way you can claim more cost. So be structured in your request, okay? The impact. Okay, excellent is for the expert, is very easy, is the easiest part for you to write because at the end is your job. But when we go to impact, this is a mystery for a lot of people, okay? If we write in the slides, in the presentation, expected impact or elements in the activities that require are linked to the impact, has to be present. So you don't need to invent the wheel. We ask you to provide a specific TRL result here. You have to demonstrate that the sector is benefiting from your technology. CO2 reduction. So there are elements that they are giving you let's say, the way to express the impact. Some people, they mix up, they are not clear, etc. And here in this case, in these big tickets, PDP, usually we require quantification, okay? Quantification that sometimes is not clear in the proposal. And I'm telling you that some experts, they don't believe what you provide because it's not clear the way that is calculated or the way the number, they don't know where it's coming from based on your previous mass balance and energy balance should be clear what you provide afterwards. This is why if you provide a good technical feasibility reference, it's very easy that the impact is clear, okay? But I'm telling you what's happening a lot of discussion between the experts. Sometimes they don't see the connection between the two parts, okay? It's not necessary to have the most perfect impact in the world. The most important is to have a good impact demonstrated based on the previous in the excellence section, okay? Here, what we are looking for, and you should focus, is on the sector, first of all. Impact on the sector means to demonstrate the quantification, the effect of the CO2, the number of plants in Europe that can benefit from this technology, things that they are very easily quantified, okay? And the importance of these changes is how much of this reduction of CO2 is impacting in the steel sector as a whole, okay? So you say we'll reduce 5% of one industry, but it's applicable or 10 industries. So you have to show the whole sector, okay? If you apply to the 100% of the industries in Europe, it's not the same that if you apply this technology to 10%. So what I mean is has to be presented in the right way, okay, and quantify. The expert pay a lot of attention here. Quantification in the scale and the significance of this technology, okay? So it's very important that when you write these kind of things, take into consideration what is the current state, okay? The benchmarks, because it's the best way to demonstrate the impact. So if I know what is going on, I can show up how it's impacting. So, and sometimes people forget that the expert, I mean, they think that the expert, they know everything. And they evaluate what you write. They only use their expertise in order to evaluate what you write. They don't make assumption, or they don't guess that you want to write this. So if you don't write correctly the benchmark, the expert can penalize because you didn't provide with a reference for your estimation afterward. So what I'm telling to you all the discussion, all the points that you have to take into account when you write, okay? Afterwards, if you have questions, I can be more detailed. And then we go to because as I said, the first part is about the sector. And then we move to the most general, okay? The impacts, like the benefits for the society, for the economy, etc. Here, usually, if you go to the presentation, the part that presented Spiridon, you have expected impact related to specific policies of the European Union, which is competitiveness which is linked to the economic impact. So the competitiveness aspect is very important that you take into account, not only in the sector, in the whole European Union, okay? Something that here you can do is easier when you have a pilot plan. It's easier to see the data because in a pilot plan, you always have estimation or projections from the economic point of view. So you can see more or less with this data, you can estimate things in a better way than if you are in TRL 4, okay? This is why we are more exigent here than in lower TRLs, okay? We expect here better impact analysis, okay? Now we move, so we were talking about the impact, and now we move to the dissemination, how to, let's say, inform the rest of the world about our results. So the dissemination and exploitation plan. Here are the two parts. The dissemination just is very simple. You don't need a dissemination communication plan here. What you need is a structure that show up, that you have analyzed, and you present the most relevant aspects for the future dissemination and communication plan, okay? It's like the skeleton that you can say, this is the number of activities that I will do. Those are my target groups, etc. That the expert can see that is justify all your activities at the level of dissemination, and is justify that you will reach the potential stakeholder, investor, or whatever. Okay, this is the way to see this. And then we move to the exploitation. The exploitation section is more. Here is very important because it's compulsory to present not a business plan, but numbers that they can justify the future business plan. Because if you are funded in this case, what we ask you is the dissemination and communication plan is requested in the month 6 after the start of the project. And at the end of the project, you have to present a business case. So in theory, you should present here the same. You should present an initial analysis, economic financial analysis, on how your technology will be exploited in the future. So if you are in TRL 8, I'm sorry, but investors or companies, they always need this. So you will never go to present a TRL 8 and they are giving you the money. So here we are asking that they put 50% of the money. So basically, you should have this information. What the Commission wants is that you present this to the evaluation. So we are not asking something very strange, okay? Because sometimes people are like, wow, but how is possible this? It's very easy. You do it for your director in a company, okay? At the level of industry, in a university is more flexible, but in an industry, if you don't present the numbers, they will never put money for your research, okay? If there are IPR issues, please put it there. Not all the details. I insist, you can present the exploitation plan afterwards. But the IPR strategy should be present, should be clear how you will protect this. And sometimes the people are putting a very strict IPR strategy, and then they forget to put the deliverables with sensitive. So there are things that also the expert can penalize this because you are not, you are in contradiction, okay? So be coherent. The implementation section, I will not spend much time because all of you or everybody usually knows how to write this, okay? What are the elements that all the experts, we will give you afterwards the presentation, and you will have access to even to this presentation that I'm doing online, okay? So the expert usually here, and it's just an advice, is just telling you, they penalize a lot the risk and the mitigation measures, okay? So be careful with this. You have to show up. You don't need a list of 200 risk and mitigation measures. Just the most relevant, because the expert, they always go to check the most relevant risk if they are foreseen or not, and how are the mitigation measures here, okay? So this part is, for me, one that is penalizing a lot of projects, okay? The other part is the incoherence aspect between task, methodology, and the Gantt, okay? The timeline for executing the different work packages and activities, okay? This is also something that they check very carefully. Some of them, they are special, the major part of them, they are specialists on this implementation. So which means that you have to be careful not to write very simple Gantt, because we are talking about a TRL 8 project. We are talking about a lot of millions. You cannot go and tell me that you have a Gantt chart like very simple. Everything is in the same line. You start one and you finish at the end of the project. Please be coherent with this. Some people, sometimes when they are writing, they forget that the Gantt chart is something very important, and they write something very rustic or very basic, okay? The other point that is very important that you detail, and then you have a budget table for this, and then Julio will come with more details for the financial aspects, is the staff effort, okay? The subcontracting and the equipment. Okay, he will enter afterwards with all the detail for this, but I will not spend more time here. Now we move to the quality of the consortium. This point and the quality of the partners, we check carefully, and we want that they check carefully. So we don't ask for industrial partners like an eligibility condition. But what we ask, because in order to warranty the success of a TRL 8, it's better that you have an industrial partner. We all know we don't need to be an expert in whatever field. So please take into account this. The expert, they will check. If they don't see a good consortium with a composition that guarantee the success of the exploitation strategy and the success of the technology implementation, they will penalize. So this is something that I always insist, because the expert always go there and then they say, but here they are 3 universities and a research center. And where is the important part, okay? So for the quality of the consortium, just this is a guideline. You have it in the application form. The application form contains everything. So you don't need to waste much time here, and just because I'm explaining you in detail, it's just there. It's well defined, it's well written. You only need to follow. But the composition of your consortium is a previous decision, okay? Before you write here. Then we have the case that Sebastiano mentioned about this, what we were discussing about participation of third countries and so on. I insist, it's in the European interest The expert has to assess like this. It's written in the guidelines for the expert. So they assess everything in the European interest. Okay? So take into account when you involve Japanese, US, Australia, whatever. Okay? Or UK, that we have a lot of cases. Before entering here, questions? No, everything clear. So you will write the perfect application. We are happy.
We do not have any question for this part that
The
is very important. So we have one question. Yes, first from the room. We don't want to have your question. That's the difference.
Thank you. Regarding, as you said, the clear structure, but you have the different work packages and the different tasks within the work packages. What would you rather suggest, to have a larger number of work packages with less tasks, or even if you have a sort of certain main work package for, let's say, the pilot demonstrator, where, for example, you used to have the planning, the construction, the evaluation, then the commissioning, and then the testing in the end? Would this better go in one work package with the different tasks that are intertwined and explained? Or would it be better to have different work packages that just relate to, for instance, planning, construction, and then going for the pilot?
Not tell you how to write the proposal, okay? just no, but this is an important question in the sense that depends on the expert. You know that there are experts that they love the detail, and we have cases that they request that you are very detailed in the discussion. I think you should look for a balance between the two profiles. So there are elements that they are more engineering. You can group them, because usually this is what happens at the end. You know that. So, but there are other type of experts that they like, that you are more detailed in the research activities. So you can create a work package just for research activities, another for this. But I cannot tell you exactly what to write, because it's not my role. But my advice is that it's clear that you see what are the research activities, the engineering activities, and this is why you do management is a work package. Okay.
Yeah, but if I may add, you need to be careful that if you are putting a lot of work packages and a lot of tasks, then it's difficult for the expert and what they are looking at if they are overlapping, if there is a sense between of the different sequences, etc. So my advice, but it's my advice, never made a proposal, only evaluated them, is not to exaggerate, both in the task and in the other. So it means to be balanced in the approach. But you see, they are looking at the interrelation, they are looking if they are overlapping, they are looking if you are indicating the right timing for doing. So this is something that where the experts are really working properly. Next question, please. Alexia.
There is one question related to our previous discussion regarding the consortium agreement and the funds. So considering the, let's say, just for a moment, flexible funds, how beneficiaries document their costs that are not compliant anymore to the total announced budget?
Will be part of the next presentation. Do we have any other question from the audience? No? So I will give the floor now to my deputy, Julio Riesco, for the financial part. Thanks, Julio.
Thank you. Good morning. So we will go through all these detailed budget tables. So the first issue that why we are discussing this is mainly, as Oscar just mentioned in this evaluation form, that one of the questions is that if your budget tables are claimed and the financial claim resources are well defined and appropriate. So it means that mainly what we try to go through to is in order to allow you to understand what is behind this, and that in your proposals, the financial tables are really linked to the activities that you plan, and the experts really clearly understand what is the relationship between both of these. So we go through all the different and we'll try to discuss together and to provide some tips also. So it's obvious that you need to do one detailed budget per beneficiary. So each one should provide its own budget table. And then we start with the most important perhaps budget heading is the personal cost, because as you know, usually in your projects, the know-how is very important, and then this is one of the main posts in your budget. Voilà, only for you to understand what is behind this, what you can declare in this personal cost is usually these different types of personal costs. The first one is the employees. This is the most that it's in your, because usually you are firms, you are enterprises, you are then all of your contract are staff contract, so employees. But however, in some cases, you can also declare persons under direct contract. This is usually when you have some in-house consultants that you hire to carry out some specific task. They can also be declared under personal cost. And also seconded persons. Seconded persons means mainly those that from a third company are seconded to your company in order to carry out some tasks, and you have a specific contract between the third party and yourself. This can also be declared, and more specifically for the SMEs, you can also declare the cost of the SME owner, who, as you know, is quite specific because there is not a real cost booked in the accounts, but we valorize this cost and this can be declared. So for SMEs, it's very important this. If there are SMEs willing to participate in the program, please contact us because there are some specificities for this. And then I will go through you only for you to be able to understand how we understand that this cost of personnel should be considered, should be planned. So the first issue that I want to really to stress is that currently for this personal cost, the Commission, all the Commission did a big effort in simplification, because the way how we calculate this cost and how we check it, it's exactly the same for all the programs. So if you participate in Horizon Europe, if you participate in another direct program, it's exactly the way as I am explaining to you. So really for you, it's another simplification because you will see that you can use the same methodology for all the programs. And then I wanted also to have there really to stress this point, because very often it happens that you know that in order to declare personal cost, you should measure this personal cost. So the resource that you add. And in order to measure it, so the Commission provides you a monthly declaration. So it means that for each person participating in the program, they should declare the number of the days that this person is working. If you don't have time recording system in your companies, please use the monthly declaration provided by the Commission with the minimum requirements. And this is very important. And I really want to stress it, because sometimes in RFCS, we have newcomers or companies, participants that don't participate another. And if you have a ex post control, and then the auditors don't find this time recording system or this monthly declaration according to the template, they can very heavily penalize you. So please take this, consider this, because this is very important. It's not for now, it's not for the preparation of your proposal, but if your proposal is selected, we will repeat it again, because this is very important. This is really in all your minds. And then only to explain you briefly how we calculate, and you will receive all the slides, so no need to have pictures. So in order to calculate it, we have also, as I mentioned, this method that is a common method used for all the programs, is that we will take on the numerator the amount of the remuneration of the person, and on the denominator, the maximum days of this person during the period that you are declaring. So in the numerator, what we will put? We will put the fixed salary, the social security, taxes, fixed components on variable components of the salary, and also other payments linked to the remuneration. Everything that is booked in your payroll, in one term, in your payroll. But what the Commission doesn't accept is that if you have arbitrary bonus. What means arbitrary bonus? The usual one is that if you participate in EU projects, then we provide you an additional bonus of, no, this we don't accept. Or if there is payment dividends, so it means that if there are some payments, is not eligible. But usually, all the other components of your payroll are eligible in the numerator. In the denominator, we divide by the total. And for this, the Commission took a decision, and they decide to go for 250 days per year. So it means that no need for those that have some experience of the previous programs where we calculated the number of days and then we try to put some ceilings and to deduct. No, now there is a flat amount, 215. So this is a simplification. This allows you to avoid, and you have an assurance and a certainty about the number of the days. They will not be challenged by any auditor or EU member. Voila, and this is only to explain you how we calculate it. So it's 215, we divide it by the number of the months of your period, and then we have the months, and if the person is working part-time, we multiply by the percentage of part-time. And there is two ceilings. For sure that you cannot declare more days that we obtain within the period, and also per month you are limited to this. This is very easily to understand because you cannot declare more cost than the actual cost incurred in your accounts. Because if you divide by 215 and you multiply by 220, it's obvious that you are declaring more cost, and this is not allowed. Voila, but this is really important because the personal cost was of the main post. Now we go to the subcontracting. Subcontracting, as already said by my colleagues previously, it means that in theory, you are deemed to have the capacity to carry out the action, but the Commission is understand that for some specific tasks, you need to go to subcontract them. But then when you are subcontracting, you should keep in mind that we have two main aspects or fundamentals that we are always looking for. This is the first one, is that value for money and non-conflict of interest. So when you subcontract, what we expect always that you check and you ensure is that there is a value for money. So it means that you take the best subcontractor according to your requirements, and also that there is no conflict of interest, okay? But as it's mentioned in these slides, we have this 30%. Okay, this 30% is not a red line. It's only an indication that, as we mentioned, you are deemed to have the capacity to carry out the action. Then if you are going to subcontract more than 30%, this is a question mark for us. But it's not forbidden. It's for you to explain why for some projects, and then the experts will assess your explanations on this. Then there is always this question about the difference between subcontract and purchase. And this is a very valid question because in the accounting, there is no difference. In the accounting, when your accountant are registering subcontract or purchase of goods and services is exactly the same. But for us, what is the difference? Is that when you subcontract, it means that you are asking a third party to provide you an action task. So it means that they are doing for you an action task that is described in your part A of the project, and it's not yourself implementing this action task, you are asking this to a third company, a third actor. While when you are a purchase, it means that you are purchasing some goods and services that allow you to carry out this action task. But it's you who carry out the action task, and then you ask, you are buying these goods or services. But for both cases, the basic principles remain. So value for money, non-conflict of interest. Purchase cost equipment. So this is usually an easy one because, as you know, what we are asking you in this table per beneficiary is to provide for each equipment that you will need to provide the line. And then in this line, you will provide the description, when you bought this equipment, then the utilization period, so it means how many months you will need it for your project, but also what is the depreciation period. What it means is that in each of our member states, for all the equipments, there are some accounting rules on the depreciation. And then for each equipment, so it means that it's depreciated in 48 months, 56, so it depends. And this is what you are requested to do. You also are requested to provide the cost of purchase. And then I will also add, because this is the equipment could have been purchased before the starting of the project. So it doesn't mandatory that you purchase it after the starting of the project, but you will then indicate when you buy it and then the percentage of allocation. What it means? It means that you can have any kind of equipment that you use for several actions or for several projects. Then you will indicate us how the percentage that you will use. And then the formula will provide you what is the cost that you can declare. This, again, this is the most common approach. This is the one who is also valid for Eurozone Europe, is that the depreciation. So what is eligible is the depreciation of the equipment that you use for the project. However, in our program, there is an exception. So if you will read the annotated model grant agreement, who is a document that is also provided and you can read it, you will see that for the research fund for coal and steel, there is an exception and we can accept full cost option. So what means full cost option? The full cost option, as I mentioned, for example, is not allowed in Eurozone Europe, is that in order to develop your project, pilot and demonstration project, you need to buy an equipment. And you consider that this equipment is really specific in order for you to develop this project. And then we are ready to pay you the purchase cost. So it means that we are outside of the general rule of depreciation. Here, we will pay the full cost of acquisition of this equipment. There are some rules for sure that these should also apply and should comply with the best value for money, with your accounting rules. And also one very important issue that you should keep in mind is that if we pay the cost of purchase, you will never be able to declare the depreciation in another project because we already fully paid it. So not possible to declare the depreciation cost in other RFCS project or in another project of the Commission because it has already been fully paid. But in order to have this, because this is exceptions, you are requesting in the table B, in the part B, to have this table with full cost option to describe by one. And you should be able to convince the experts and those that are evaluating your proposal that this equipment that you want to purchase within the project, that is really needed and the Commission should really pay for this acquisition. So line by line, you should describe why. In addition, and this I should apologize because it's not very clear, but in addition, you should also put it in the breakdown in the Excel. So again, keep in mind that for the full cost option, you need to declare it 2 times, one in the detailed budget table in Excel and one in part B. Sorry for this, but this should be very clear because otherwise it could be some misunderstanding. And then the table in the Excel table, I would say that, and I agree with you, it doesn't really fit for this purpose, but in order to be able to use, I will provide you some tips. So you will put again the description, no problem. The date of purchase, in theory, is something that you will purchase during the project because it's that you need it for the project. So this could be, you can mention that you will purchase in the first month, in the second month, but in theory, you will purchase it when your project starts. Utilization period and depreciation period. Okay, these 2 columns have nothing to do with this full cost option. But because there are this in the Excel, what you should be very clear is that it should be exactly the same number there. If you consider that it's 36, you put 36 in both of them, but we'll not use it because we will use only the cost of purchase that will reimburse on full. Okay? So keep in mind this, and the allocation is also 100% by default. So at the end, what you should ensure is that the cost of purchase is also the last column, is exactly the same amount for this full option. So I expect that this is clear because remain that you should declare it 2 times, one in the Excel and one in the part B, and then that the cost is the full cost of the purchase. Okay, for the other purchase cost is quite easier because it's the usual goods and services that you will need in order to carry out the project, like the raw material, consumable, energy, all of them. So then you describe and you put the cost. The only issue that I will really to alert you is that when you will implement, you will need to measure them. So it means that, please pay attention, not apportionment. So if you go for energy, you will be able to define the volume of energy that you are applying. So it means that it should be measured. You should have a way to measure it and not to apportionate. So you cannot, for example, apportionment, what it means is that in your plant, the office running this action is 5% of all the plant, then you decide to charge 5% of the energy of the plant to the project. No, this is an apportionment. You should measure it. You have ways to measure it. You are engineers, you are technicians, so do it, please. For the rest, it's quite an easy one. And then the last table that I wanted to share with you, and I know that we received some question, is that this is an accounting exercise. So the cost should be equal to the incomes. So all the costs that you declare for the project should be covered by income. So if you think that you plan 100 euros of cost, you should find 100 euros of income. The first line, the most easy one, is the request amount. So you know that we are ready to finance you 50%. So there. And then the other sources, you should mention it. So it could be your own sources. It could be that you receive other support from national, regional, or even private. The only constraint The only constraint, it couldn't be EU funds. So it cannot be another EU sources, even indirect sources, through shared management with the countries. So pay attention that if you have a national support, it cannot be that behind this there are some kind of EU support. This is the only constraint. For the rest, you can have other income, and you can have also own income of the project. It's not so frequent, but in some projects, at some moment during the life of the project, not after, during the life, you can have some income, and then you should declare it. And then, to summarize this, and also for some of the question, this is the official. So I mean that request grant amount cannot never be higher than 50%. What Sebastiano really, so. Now, you are allowed in your consortium's agreement to deviate of this. But in this table, the requested grant amount, maximum 50%. And then you are allowed in the consortium agreement to modulate it or fine-tune it according to the consortium agreement. But we don't need to know it. This is your business. This is your own of dealing with the EU grant. Thank you very much.
Do we have a question for Julio? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Let's start with the people that are here.
Oh, yeah. My question is, so you are subcontracting to the third party. For example, you have 10,000 euros, you're giving it to third party. When you calculate to the total budget from the company, does this 10,000 translate to 50% funding, or is it means you will be paying to the company 5,000? Am I correct in that sense?
Yeah, okay, so there is two different aspects. So the first one is that in the eligible cost, it will be the full amount of the subcontracting. But obviously, you as beneficiary, you need to pay 100% of this subcontracted to the subcontractor, but we will only reimburse you 50%. Is it clear?
Yeah, that's
and perhaps something that I didn't mention and is very important, you cannot subcontract between the different beneficiaries of the action. This is obvious.
Thank you.
So okay, do we have another question? Yeah.
A question on the full cost option. Can you make an example of what would be a good justification for this kind of full option?
I will not. No, because this is more technical. This is for our colleagues, perhaps to know, because what I can mention to you is the financial rules, but I don't know typical examples, to be honest.
Okay.
Let's reflect. We will come back later on because this is something that depends from one project to the other, and we will see. Question from, yeah.
I have a question about seconded person against payment. Can it be, for example, an engineer from a external company, a temporary contract, some kind of consultant?
Yeah, it can be an engineer from another. So usually, to provide you on this, I can provide you an example. Is that you, for example, you have in your group another who is independent company, even in another country, and then one of the engineer of this group wants to come to your company to work on this project. This is a seconded person. You need between the two companies have an agreement, and then to have the cost of this, and the cost of this seconded person can never be high that what he perceives in his own company. But this is the only restriction, but this is allowed.
Okay. And I have another question about subcontracting. Can it be done outside Europe?
Again, it's a full justified, yes.
Thank you.
Brian.
Thank you. This is a minor question from a coal miner. On the monthly declarations, if we keep those sheets electronically, how would you expect to see them completed? I'm asking about electronic signatures or whatever.
So the auditors, I am aware that the ex-post auditors check, and then what they will check is that in this IT tool allows to be sure that the person who signed is the employee, but also the supervisor, and that the signatures cannot be done by another one. So there are some checks that can be done, but they can be kept electronically if the system allows some guarantees.
We have another question there. Yes, please.
I'd like to ask, on the last slide, you said that we cannot go over the 50% mark. And but previously you said that if we do have the full cost options for certain items, then naturally wouldn't we be over the 50% on the summary page?
No, the idea is that you are going to have your cost that is going to be reimbursed 100% by the consortia. If the consortia has 10 million euro budget, it will get 5 million from us, okay? And if they have a full cost of 300,000 or 500,000, they will pay 500,000 to this, but this will reduce the amount of the budget that they will get totally. You understand what I mean? Okay. Do we have no? Apparently it's over. Alexia. No, Christian. Oh. Christian.
So first question is about the percentage of indirect cost. So is it depending on the type of entity, or do we have a flat rate for all of them?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention it. So indirect cost in RFCS, you know that it's 35% of all personnel costs. And this is a flat rate for all the beneficiaries, all the companies or RFCS program. So it means that there is no change. And keep in mind that also I wanted to stress this, that with this, in RFCS, we have also a specific issue is that we don't have eligibility cost for travel and subsistence. So in our mind, this is deemed to be reimbursed by indirect costs. But this is 35% of full personnel cost, independently of the type of the beneficiary.
Okay, so the next one is about the when the costs are covered. So it says for the purchase of the data of purchasing order should be after the project start, or it can be also after the proposal presentation.
As we said, it's not important that this purchase is done before or after, should be clearly indicated. This is what the requirement is, should be clearly indicated in the proposal. But we are not excluding that when you are preparing something, preparing a research project, you start to advance some of the tasks, and you take, of course, the risk that the proposal finally will not be evaluated, but you should indicate clearly during the proposal.
So it should be during the project duration.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question is about, did I understand that the maximum of personnel cost per year, right? So it says that 215 days per year refer to one person.
Yes.
Okay, so then start is correct. Next one is about, I will read it directly. So how can I request the explanation data for compensation rule that you have mentioned in case of SMEs founder? Explanation data for compensation rule.
So no, okay, this you don't need to provide a very long explanation. So it means that the beneficiary participating should be an SME. So EU has clear indication what companies are SME or not SMEs. And in the case it's an SME, then what you should indicate is that the owner of SME, because what is the issue? Is that in SMEs, very often the owner in some member states don't have a salary, because they are paid with the results of the SME. And then in this case, so in this case, they couldn't have actual cost to declare because they have not a payroll. And for these SME owners without a salary, we allow them to declare some costs that are in our proposal. So you will see that we have the reference to this cost.
So next one is about what to do with the equipment that has been declared as a full cost after the project. So do we need to dispose after the project for the equipment that has been declared as full cost? That's the question.
What do you mean dispose? They can means
use it.
Yeah, they can use it. Yeah, they can keep using it. We are talking about demonstrator. We are never talking about, equipment that they can be, fully scaled, et cetera. But I mean, so we are not against the fact that they are still alive after the project.
So again, indirect cost rate, 35%. And next question is, can you give us an example for the pre-requirements for choosing the full cost option of certain equipment? That was also asked here. No, not example. And then next one is about large pilot and demonstration installations often require a number of ancillary equipment. It is possible that part of such ancillary equipment to be provided by one of the partners in the consortium with the full cost option?
No, this is not possible because either you are a partner, so member of the consortium, and you are participating, etc., or you are a subcontractor. A subcontractor is not a member of the consortium. And so what he provides will be fully reimbursed, but is not a member. This is a question that, especially for steel, was coming over and over, because we have the plant builders, they would like also to be subcontractors and member of the consortium. But the two roles are not compatible. So I understand that you are, as a plant builders, you are selling an equipment, and then during the life of the project, you are improving the equipment role and what is doing. But the two roles are not compatible. So either you are a subcontractor or you are a member of the consortium.
Just to bring an example to this question, it says that, as an example, a unique facility to be developed by partner B in location of partner A. However, certain ancillary equipment is necessary, which is provided at commercial cost by partner B usually. Could a full cost option be claimed for such ancillary equipment by partner A? So it's just one claiming cost from another from a different location. No.
And coming back to my reply before, means the two roles are not compatible. So this is something that it cannot be done.
Okay, then I think there is...
This is the last question, or this was the last question, yeah, because we have also our colleagues, so we need to speed up a little bit because we have this famous sandwich lunch coming later on. So there is one more from you, Christian.
Okay, so the last question is, considering that the flexible funds, how beneficiaries document their costs that are not compliant anymore to the total announced budget?
Okay, so again, because I understand that this is not so easy. So first one, the most important issue is that in the proposal you have two parts. You have the costs. And the cost is what you need to be able to prove and to share 100% of the cost incurred. 100%. So it means that if you think that in your proposal, the cost of your proposal will be 1 million, you should be able to justify 1 million. Now, on the second part is that on how to finance this. This is the part that we mentioned that you should, for us, at least mention that the maximum that we will support is 50%. But for this part, in your consortium agreement, you can modulate it. And then you can, but for the justification, It's nothing to do with this. The justification should be on 100% of the cost declared.
Okay. Always difficult this part, but I think that we are going in the right direction, providing the right information. Since we have two colleagues that they are coming from one of my previous work and job in the European Commission, that they would like to make a presentation on something that is extremely important, is the validation of the entities that will participate to our program. I will give the floor to who's starting, Maria or yeah. So give the floor to them, and then we come back with the last part of our presentation. Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you for inviting us for this session, and welcome to everyone. So I am Maria Carneiro. I work for the REA Central Validation Services in the validation planning team. And I am here today to go through the process of register organizations, legal validation, and leader appointment. And my colleague, Florin Puiu, will join me afterwards to go through the financial capacity assessment. Is it me passing the slides?
Yes.
So here you have an outline of our presentation. So we will go through the tasks of our unit, also through the registration of participants. I'm sorry, not used to do this anymore live. Legal validation and leader appointment. We will talk about how to communicate with our services, and then Florence will go through the financial capacity assessment, and we will provide you links to some guidance documents. So, what do? We verify the legal existence and legal status of the entities participating in grants, tenders, contribution agreements. Okay, thank you. Contribution agreements and prizes. And why do we do this? We do this in order to safeguard the financial interests of the European Union. So we have to be sure whether the entities are who they claim they are. I'm not lucky today. Yeah? Okay. Okay, thank you. So we also validate the appointment of the legal entity appointed representatives, so the leaders. And these persons are very, very important. I always call them the king leader because they have a lot of powers. And in fact, they are the intermediary between the entities participating in the tenders and the grants procedures and our services. So we also validate the legal changes of a validated entity. So for instance, if your entity during the process changes legal name or changes legal address, you will inform our services and we will proceed with the changes. We also assess the universal transfer of rights and obligations of validated entities. So again, if during this process, your entity merges with another entity, you inform our services and we reassess the file. We also encode bank account requests, very important so that you can get the budget you ask for. We prepare the financial capacity assessment if needed. We also perform ownership control assessments for specific programs. And we also perform ex post verifications, for example, of small and medium enterprises or mid-caps. So here is the interface of the participant register. And here I'm going to show you how to register your organization or how to look for your organization in the portal. So we have here the two different scenarios, as I said. So if you already have your organization registered, which is possibly the case for a lot of you, you just have to click find a registered organization. You have already a PIC number and you just search. If you have to start from the beginning, then you have to click register your organization and then fill in the data that is required. So here, I usually recommend to have your registration extract and VAT extract handy. unless you have a very good memory and you know all these numbers by heart. So you will have to provide a legal name, a VAT number, registration number, all the organization data, legal information, and also you have to define authorized users. So here, the person who is registering the organization, we call the self-registrant. And this person will have to provide all his or her contact details. And in this case, we always recommend to name a backup as well, because in case the self-registrant leaves the organization, then you always have a backup that can keep the contact with our services. So once you have filled in all this information, the registration is completed, and then you receive the famous new participant identification code, the PIC number, which will show as declared because it's still not yet validated. From this moment onwards, you can be contacted by our central validation services at any moment to request documents to proceed with the legal validation, LEAR appointment, and the financial capacity assessment if needed. And these three processes can occur simultaneously. So we can take care of the verification and validation of the legal data, always based on legal documents, also the LEAR appointment, and also the FCA. And what is important to keep in mind is that to have a valid PIC is not sufficient. You have to have also a LEAR appointed. It is mandatory for all validated participants. And all the communication with our services is made via the participant register. So legal validation, we verify the data that you provide to us, always before the signature of the grant agreement or the contract. And this legal validation, and this is the good news, is done only once. Once you have a valid PIC, the PIC will be valid forever. So, and as I mentioned already, the validation is always performed on the basis of supporting documents, and this in accordance with the EU financial regulation, and also the rules on legal entity validation, LEAR appointment, and financial capacity assessment. I always recommend, if you have the time, just go through it. It's important and it helps a lot with the process of validation. So the documents we ask to proceed with the legal validation, we ask for documents that are recent, so valid less than 1 year. And for private law bodies, we ask for the VAT extract and the registration extract. Public bodies, we ask for the law, the decree, or the decision creating the body. For international organizations, we ask for the treaty. And for non-profit organizations, we ask for the statutes. So we went through the legal validation. Now we are going through the LEAR appointment. So as I mentioned, the LEAR is the intermediary between the legal entity and our services. So this person will notify our services of changes in legal data or in legal status, also submits legal and financial documents if required, manages access rights, and also nominates account administrators and people authorized to sign contracts and grant agreements, and also financial statements. And the LEAR appointment documents we require is the LEAR appointment letter, duly signed by both the legal representative and the LEAR, official proof of identity, also from both the legal representative and the LEAR, and also proof of empowerment of the legal representative. Now, you probably are going to ask me, Can the legal representative and the lawyer be the same person? Yes. Yes, they can, as long as the lawyer has no limitation or powers to represent legally the company. So as long as the lawyer can also represent the entity in its entirety, then we can have the same person representing the entity. Here you see a little bit of the interface of the participant register. And I insist that all communication with our services must be managed through the participant register. And something else that we always like to mention is that when we write to you, you will receive a notification on your email. And you are going to open your email and you are going to open it on your phone. I always recommend go to the participant register, because if we are sending you attachments, if you open our messages from your mobile or from your email, you will not see the attachments. So always go to the participant register. And I bet that some of you were thinking, what if I lose access to my PIC? It's never a problem. So if you have a declared PIC to which that has never been validated, and you did not follow our recommendations in the beginning of the presentation, and you didn't appoint a backup, then it's not a problem. You just go to the participant register, you create a new PIC, you inform us, and we link the former PIC to the new one so that you can proceed with your work. If you have a valid PIC and the lawyer is not available anymore, you lost completely access to the PIC, it's also not a problem. There's a functionality in the participant register which is called the lawyer recovery procedure that you can activate, and then you will be able to appoint a new lawyer. And I think this was my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. We can do the questions afterwards, maybe, and I'll hand over to Florian.
Thank you very much, Maria, for introducing us into the universe of participant validation. Now I'm going to discuss about the financial capacity assessment. This will be a much shorter presentation. And I started by presenting you the legal basis that we have. The first document is the financial regulation, which says why we have to assess participants. And the answer is in Articles 199 and 201. These articles say that participants, applicants, must have enough and stable sources of funding throughout the entire life of the action. So therefore, we have to assess if you, the participant, you have enough financial power to perform the actions of the projects. The second documents are the rules on legal entity validation already mentioned by Maria in her presentation, and the call for proposals. These are technical documents which lay down conditions on the process, what we are looking for. They list the documents that we need to assess the financial capacity of your entity. For example, in the last document, the call for proposals, please have a look in the points selection criteria financial capacity, and there you will find answers what happens if you receive a negative opinion or a positive one. It might be possible that the coordinator might not receive pre-financing, or we should replace the coordinator, but this is always specific to certain calls for proposals. It's not a universal, let's say, formula. In the next slides, we see when is the FCA needed. The FCA is standing for Financial Capacity Assessments. So we assess all coordinators, all right? If the requested grant amount is above or equal to 500,000 euros, that's we accept the public bodies, international organizations, and individual grant requests of less than 60,000 euros. That is because we consider that below 60,000 euros is an acceptable risk for the Commission. Public bodies are always exempt because they cannot go bankrupt. They have the financial support of the states. And we also may request the financial capacity for other beneficiaries affiliated entities, in case we discover that there are strong business relationships between the participants in the affiliated entities. It's not very common, but it is possible. I should say that if the financial capacity assessment must be done, you will be contacted by the Central Validation Service through the participant portal. All right. What are the supporting documents to perform these assessments? These are the main accounting documents, namely the balance sheets and the profit and loss accounts. And we also need the attached notes or the explanatory notes to these financial statements. That is because in the notes, we find information which normally is not reported in the balance sheet or in income statements. This information is critical for us to have a correct opinion. If we do not have enough information or the granularity of the information is too low, we might consider, let's say, a most prudent approach, and we might downgrade the rating of the participants. I will not enter into such details now because these are technical and we don't have them displayed on the screen, but just please provide us also the explanatory notes of the financial statements. Also, we might ask the financial audit reports, not always, but only for those action grants exceeding 750,000 euros or for operating grants of 100,000 euros or more. In these moments, you might ask yourselves, will I be asked for the financial audit reports? Yes, if your action is above 750,000 euros, or no, if it's below these amounts. This financial audit report comes as an assurance, an additional assurance on the reliability of the accounts, because in our offices here, we can only perform the financial assessment based on the profit and loss account and balance sheets, but an auditor, an external auditor, comes and says, all right, these accounts are reasonably correct or not. This is also mentioned in the financial regulation. So please provide us these documents for the most recent closed and approved financial years available in the official language if we talk about EU languages, or with a translation in English if we talk about non-EU languages, for example, Turkish, Chinese, Norwegian, and so on. So please provide us this information so that we can process them. Once completed, this assessment is valid for 18 months from the closing date. It means that in these periods, if you want to apply for another action grant or operating grants, you will not be assessed one more time because the financial capacity assessment is still valid. As regards the communication in participant portal, as Maria said, we will have this communication only in the participant portal. And here you have two dedicated tabs. These are the financial capacity, where you can provide us the necessary financial information. And also you have the tab messages, where you can access our messages from the Central Validation Service. You can ask us different information. We could also ask you to provide us more information if something is missing. So having said that, this is the end of the presentation. It was a very short one before the lunch break. And we provide you a short list of guidance documents that it might be useful for you. Please have a look, and if you have questions now, we are glad to reply to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our colleagues for the presentation. You know that we have made some simplification in our program, so we are asking to verify the financial status only of the coordinator if it's weak, because we have reduced the risk for the companies by having a lower pre-financing. But this is very important, and these are valid for any kind of submission that you are doing on Horizon Europe and for our program. So I don't know if you have any question for these colleagues. Doesn't seem the case, so thank you very much.
Can the new entity that was founded less than 1 year ago be verified and eligible for the call?
So if we talk about the financial capacity assessment, thank you very much for the question. Yes, of course, because obviously a newly incepted entity has not yet reported their first time the financial statements, correct? So the question asks, well, the question is, if we don't have financial statements, can we be evaluated, right? Yes, you can. You can, because you will provide us a business plan with projections for the next financial year. It was not mentioned in the slides, true, but in this case, we will ask you to provide us, let's say, the financial projections, so that we understand we can evaluate the future performance for 1 year, not the past performance, but the future one. Right?
Advice is to be optimistic in your financial status. Okay, so thank you very much again, Maria and Florian, for your participation. We are the last one having this event live. This should be also interesting for you. We will go now for the last part of our presentation before going to the lunch.
Thank you. So after hearing everything this morning between part A, part B, and all the criteria that you're to adhere by, you're now ready to submit. So I want to start with one important piece of information, just linking to the last one that Julio presented on the detailed budget table. It must match the content that is in the budget table of Part A. So you'll remember in Part A, there's an overall budget table. The information that you put in the Excel sheet that you upload, it must be matching to the overall budget table. It doesn't always happen. We will take the information that's in Part A will be the budget that prevails. So coordinators, before you submit, do the check. Check every partner tab in your detailed budget table that it matches the part in Part A before you submit. So once you submit, you will get a warning if there's a warning appears. Here's an example of a warning that might appear if you upload Part B that's over the maximum amount of 70 pages, which in this case, 81 pages, and exceeds the limit, then the excess pages will be disregarded. So when you press submit, you may get validation warnings. As I said, please carefully look at them. Then once you submit, you will get a proposal ID. You can edit your proposal anytime up to the deadline on the 6th of May at 5 p.m. So even after you submit, you can reopen it, edit it, but make sure you submit it again. And you can download the documents that you have submitted. So that's your submission. The consortium agreement that we have mentioned a few times today, the consortium agreement is mandatory. So just to explain a little bit what it is a private agreement between the beneficiaries that sets out the rights and obligations among yourselves. So this can be additional rules and rights and obligations related to the background and the results. In case of revenue, how this is distributed, additional rules on the ownership of results or how they're identified and reported, liability indemnification, confidentiality arrangements, and so forth. There is a template for a consortium agreement that you can find on the Funding and Tenders portal. So use that. Now that you're starting your application, we advise you to download that and start thinking about and working on your consortium agreement as well. Because we will ask you, do you have a consortium agreement in place during the grant agreement preparation phase? So upon signature of the grant agreement, we will ask you, do you have a consortium agreement in place? We don't need to receive your consortium agreement, but we will ask you the question and you need to verify that you have it. It takes many months. There's lots of discussions among the consortium. So we advise you now to start thinking and preparing about this in parallel to your application. So to the last part that I mentioned earlier this morning, some of you may want to find a partner and you ask, how can we do this? So there's a function on the Funding and Tenders portal where you can go and find partners, or you can put up information about your own organization that you're looking for partners to join your own consortium. So where to find this? So on the Funding and Tenders portal, if you scroll over funding, there's a drop down there called Partner Search. So once you click on that, it'll bring you to this page. And there's two main ways to search for a partner. You can use the quick search function and you can put in a search word. For here, I just put in steel. And this was taken yesterday. There's 140 companies there that have a link to steel that are looking to be either part of a consortium, or you can see who is, wanting to, if you're looking to see, you can see their detail that they want to join a consortium. The next option is to use the program topic type. So under the program, if you select search for RFCS and select the research fund for coal and steel, it will bring you to those companies that are specifically highlighting that they wish to be part of a proposal or available to be under RFCS. So under the topic, you can search under 2026, and already there is 2 organizations under coal that's listed, and one under the Clean Industrial Deal, and one under the Steel and Metals Action Plan. So once you search the drop downs, there you can find specific organizations that have already highlighted their organization to be possible to join a consortium. That's everything from our side. I leave it up to Sebastiano then to do the closing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dermot. Do we have any other question from you? I promised before that I would give you some indication about full cost equipment, but my staff had advertised me to be careful. And so what we are going to, my proposal is that we are going to update the question and answer part of our fund in order to give you a better indication. And I ask my staff to do this search, and we are going to upload the reply in the next few days. So another thing that I would like to say is that I would like to congratulate my staff for this set of presentation, because I thought that, and I think that this was one of the most complete preparation briefings that we made for the program. We have started, as I said, in 2021, and we are still improving, but there were really a lot of information, and that I'm sure will help you to do a good proposal and possibly a successful proposal. So I will ask you, not at home, but here, to make an applause to my staff for this. Thank you very much. I think that you share my thing. I would like also to give you an indication that for more general questions related to the research, not only our program, but the full Horizon Europe, there is this service that I was leading also in the past. So you can easily write a question, and they are in contact with all the services of the European Commission, and they will provide a timely reply. So also this is something that you can do. For other questions, my staff and me, we are at your disposal. So the last information before that we go to eating these fantastic sandwiches and closing the meeting is that in some advice for the one-to-one afternoon meetings. And we need to be sure that you understand what is the meaning of this one-to-one session. And we are providing additional information, we are providing clarification. But even if we like a lot your idea, doesn't mean that your idea will be also liked by the expert during the evaluation. And this is what they are doing. They are evaluating and they are making the final assessment. So, but in any case, I think that the one-to-one session, especially for proposal that they will have the size and dimension of the big tickets, are welcome and very useful. So for the one that we are going to meet today, this is just a warning, but of course, I think that you will find that our contribution, even if framed by this, will be helpful. So I think that with this we can close the info day for this morning. And again, I would like to thank all of you for being here, and all the people that they are connected from home, because they are really giving our means work a value, and it's important that we are sharing with you what we are doing and the way to better improve the proposal for this big ticket call. So I will say this, and looking forward to meet you again for the next info day that will be covering the info day, the annual call, and the big ticket on dual use. So thank you very much, and have a great sandwiches and a nice afternoon. That's it. Thank you. Sandwiches and the lunch is of you, or in this direction. If you want to eat with us. Prototype. Yeah.
Doesn't say only people.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Because it used to be
But it was not correct what I told you. I
Okay.
remember that.
Okay. Okay, no worries.
Should we end and close?
I'm going to stop recording now and then I close. Yeah, you can.